Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Man, I hope you're having a wonderful day, a productive day, an exceptional day, a family day. You know, we're so close to Friday, everybody, that I think we're going to keep up with the theme of Throwback Thursday. This is one of the few Thursdays, if you will, that we can actually kick back a little bit. Dhul Hiijah. Some people are fasting, some people are not fasting. It doesn't matter, man. I think it's all about being in your particular flow, in your particular place, man. You know, I decided to take a time warp, if you will. I decided to take a little trip back because people always say, you know, if you go back where you are, you can understand where you go back where you come from. You can understand where you are, and that is very prophetic. And you know, I decided to take it a whole nother level, if you will. I came up with some things that were happening. I decided to go into my time warp. 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, do you know 10 years ago, Obama was signing the extension for or the renewal of jobless benefits in 2010. Did you know that? So we were having employment problems in 2010. One of the bigger worries was, and just so you know it, Muslims were still having problems back in 2010. The big word or the big story in CNN was about the Ground Zero Mosque. Has anyone ever been to the Ground Zero Mosque? Did they finish it? Did they get their final? I never met the guy. I met somebody who was connected to the Ground Zero Mosque, but I never really heard about it. In fact, the guy who wrote the article, the editorial about the Ground Zero Mosque was a Republican former representative, Lazio. This guy Lazio, you know, he did the whole thing, Islamophobia, say that Hamas is this, that. And it's interesting because it said, you know what? 10 years ago, he was running against who? Mario Cuomo for the governor, to be the governor of the United States, not the governor of New York, and the guy lost. So I think that his last shot in the sun, if you will, might have been that article. I think the article was called "Who's Paying for This Islamic Dinner?" And I think that's one. And the biggest health issue 10 years ago, the health crisis, of course, we're dealing with COVID right now. The biggest health crisis that they were dealing with 10 years ago was the incident or phenomena of parents who were drugging their kids to get relief. Now, some of y'all are going to go, oh my gosh, I'm aghast. Let me tell you something. It was not beyond the old school parents when kids got hyper to slip them a little, I'm not going to lie, slip them a little NyQuil and then slow them down a little bit, at least, you know, right around nighttime to get kids get that good night's rest. A little NyQuil, a little tussin, you know, put a little soda in, whatever, however you did it, that's what it. You know, and I'm looking at it because in 2010, they're talking about because parents needed relief. I guess they did, you know, but it was interesting because now it was an epidemic because we're talking about white parents. Black parents, they might give you some Robitussin and NyQuil, but a black mom with a serious threat pretty much would make you sleepy. That's all I'm saying. She pretty much will make you sleepy. I don't know about all of that. Give a shout out, brothers. Yeah, all the way from Toledo, Ohio. Thank you for coming on, brother. And in sports, 10 years ago, the fabulous point guard extraordinaire Chris Paul wanted to trade from who? Not the Hornets, not Oklahoma, not the Clippers. He wanted to trade from the Hornets. You know how long? That's when he had a hairline, people. That's when my hair was still gray. I ain't gonna lie to you. But that's how far back it went. And the big thing that's missing. The big thing that's missing, brothers and sisters, with this whole COVID thing, particularly during the summertime, and shelter in place, and all these other things, protests, you know what's going to happen, folks. We're talking already, we don't have a Hajj. People will make Hajj, most people will not make Hajj. You're missing that. But the thing that's missing this summer, we are already to the end of July. Wait for it. We are not having the quintessential family vacation. When I say vacation, you know what I'm talking about. Family vacation. Whatever you had, your 3.5 kids in the back, you had the wife over on the passenger side. She wasn't happy with the husband because he drives too fast. Husband didn't want to stop. Kids didn't want to use the bathroom all the time. This is what makes family great. So if it's anything we can get out of this space of COVID, people, we need our family vacations. I don't care where you go. I don't care if you get in your car, gas up, and go around the block a couple times. But you need to get out and at least say that you went someplace different. And it's a whole set of circumstances that are they're laid out. They're laid out in a particular way, brothers and sisters. And I think it's interesting. I really think it's interesting because you begin to understand how communities really, really connect. How communities really connect. Now, I mean, I'm thinking about this because I talked about Hajj a couple days ago with my brother. And it was funny. We actually had community around the idea we want to go to Hajj. So now we have this situation, and this is probably why the school situation is so funky, because technically the kids haven't really had a vacation. The kids haven't had that chance to blow off steam. The teachers haven't had the chance to blow off steam. I was a teacher, people. I'm going to tell you something. Teachers are devoted and they love their children. They love their students. But let me tell you something. That last day when the bell rings, we don't want to see them anymore. We want you to go home and wreak terror on your communities and your parents and your family. We don't want to see you. And now there's an issue where you might not be able to go back and catch that feeling. Because, I say that, but it's something that's meditative about when you go and go in the classroom and you see that kid from last year who you didn't like, and you still don't like him, but you like to see him, so you can still not like him. That's all I'm saying. And as you grow and grow and grow, we get older. This is something I thought about. This is like a lost summer. Can I call it that? Yeah, can I call it like a lost summer? It's like a lost summer. And I started thinking about all the summers I had as a kid. Summer camp, doing summer camp, going to visit relatives. I realized that my mom and dad paid my relatives to watch me for 2 to 3 weeks when I went to Virginia. They didn't really want me. My parents paid them. Because I realized when I went to summer camp, I didn't know any of those people, and they paid them more. So my point, brothers and sisters, is to think about where we are today and maybe in the next 10 years. Talking 2030, inshallah, we all make it. Talking 2030, we'll take this time and we'll look back. The same way in 2010, we look back to 2000. A lot of us looked at 2001. Just the idea that however crazy things got, we still managed to reach some level of normalcy. When I say some level of normalcy, I mean that in our own lives, though the world may be crazy, the world is always going to be crazy. In our own lives, in our own little circles, we found some things that said, I feel peaceful. I feel peaceful. So let me give a shout out. This is my mom. My mom's homie is Miss Eleanor. Now, this is funny. 2010, I don't even know if they knew each other. It's 2020. They're the best of buddies. They are partners in crime. Love you, Miss Eleanor. Love you, Mom. My mom's thinking 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Mom, I can't even think about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were all in all different places, man. But you know what? The thing that ties families together, because yesterday I talked about sitting. You know what we used to do 10 years ago? When everything was crazy, we would sit and we would have these conversations. And these conversations didn't have to have any particular type of parameters or things like that. Not even a particular subject matter. Like when I speak with my mom and my dad and my aunts, I'm very careful not to give them subject matter because they're not going to listen anyway. But you want to understand that you're hearing a little bit of history. Even though they're talking about the day, they're going to give it to you from that perspective of what they knew from way back. Let me give a shout out. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Akil. Thank you for joining. Hey, Akil, what's your Throwback Thursday, brother? Think about it and then click it up. What's your Throwback Thursdays? Yeah, what's your Throwback Thursday? What is your now? One of my favorite Throwback Thursdays from 2010, brothers and sisters, was I got to hang with some jazz musicians who I thought I would never hang with. And it started out like, hey, man, you're really a wonderful musician and da-da. And I was walking away, and the musician, I won't name him, he goes, oh, man, relax, man, chill. And I gave him the greeting. Turned out, he was on some Muslim stuff too. And we had some grass weed juice, it was green. And he said it's the best thing in the world. And it was the worst thing in the world, people. If I clicked my teeth, I could still taste that nasty taste in the back of my, that's how bad it was. But the experience of sitting with a jazz dude and we were just chilling and listening to him. And you know what, 10 years ago, man, what was fun for me, after doing Allah Made Me Funny, it was fun to be able to go in a different mosque and different masjids, and people would talk to me about the good things I did as a comedian. They talked about what they laughed about. They talked about when they first saw it. They talked about hearing Allah Made Me Funny, and it made me a good feeling because I was on a mission. In 2010, I was still on a mission trying to reach folks. And that was after the movie came out, and we were still touring, but it was so much fun to be able to see that brother, see that sister, and just have this conversation. We weren't talking about what side of the deen you were from, you immigrant, you African American. It was just like, man, it was so real. 10 years ago, I'm gonna tell you this. 10 years ago, fundraisers were just as bad as they are now. Yes, we're talking about fundraisers that border on hostage situations. I literally thought one fundraiser in particular should have been arrested for false imprisonment because he kept people in that spot to almost midnight. Let me tell you something. If I don't give you money at 9 o'clock, I ain't giving you money at 12 o'clock. That's just the rule. You need to go to fundraising school or something like that, or fundraising for dummies or something like that. I'm just saying, when I think about it, brothers and sisters, even though I say that, it was still the fact that people were there to do the good thing. Forget about the fundraiser. People were there to support their communities and support charities that needed help. And I'm like, yo, I respect that, man. And then there's some of us, 2010 is funny because I think of some of the music that was out. I won't go there, but I still have some of the same biases in 2020 that I have in 2010. Most of you that know me know that I am not a Dallas Cowboy fan. It's genetics. My dad wasn't, my uncle wasn't, my mom wasn't, my uncle was, but we didn't like him that much. We liked him outside of football season. But you know what? The funny thing was I was not a Dallas fan. Like right now, this is the greatest time to be a non-Dallas fan because they haven't won since the electric slide. They haven't won since the electric slide was popular. Okay, that's wrong. But 10 years ago, somebody who I really respect, who played for Dallas and has the all-time leading rushing record in the NFL, Emmitt Smith, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, anybody that knows me knows as much smack as I may talk about the Cowboys or the Celtics or a couple other groups, let me say this. I only can have this conversation because I respect them. I respect their will to win, their ethic, and all those things. So what comes out of my mouth is just, it's not sour grapes. It's really respect. I like the way these guys win, and that's all I'm going to say. Oh, my cousin is on the show. This is my cousin Earl Bethel. I call him Maine. Yeah, the muffler story. Do I have time for the muffler story? I'm gonna tell y'all the muffler story. Okay, so this is my cousin. All right, let me explain my cousin. Cousin, good dude. Here's part of my cousin. He loves cars, and I mean, like, he loves cars, like nice cars, souped up cars. When we were kids, he loved car magazines, and I could like watch like one or two. He would hang a car on a car rollout, a fold out on the wall like a Lil Kim poster. That's how much he loved cars. Okay, so my uncle, you know, my uncle Earl, he he had no filter. My uncle, I love him. He had no filter. That's what I also missed about 10 years ago. You know, we miss him even then. He had no filter, but you know, he'd tell you something to do it, and just for the sake of not getting into his crosshairs, you would do it. Okay, my uncle was Uncle Earl Sr. My cousin's Uncle Earl is Earl Bethel Jr. Here's the problem. He sent us on a mission because we had a broken muffler on this Duster. It's a green Duster. It was a nice car. He told us, go out to so-and-so's house, have him fix the muffler, and come back. Let me say that again. Go out to so-and-so's house, have him fix the muffler, come back. Simple, basic. Okay. My cousin, he heard the same thing I heard. Go out, get the muffler fixed, bring it back. Okay. So we're going out. This is the old school days. This is the old school way. You call somebody, and if they didn't pick up the phone, you took a chance and went to the house anyway. Or if it was busy, you definitely went because you knew somebody was going to be home. That's what I'm talking about. So this guy, the mechanic, was a little outside of Danville. This is what we're talking about, Danville, Virginia. A little outside of Danville. We get out to Danville. We're in the car. Myself, my cousin's driving. My little cousin Jason's in the back. And we're following instructions, people. We're following instructions. We go out there. Unfortunately, the guy wasn't home. He wasn't home. You hear what I'm saying? So we got to come back. So on the way back, my cousin forgets the instructions of go out there, get the muffler fixed, come back. We, for some reason, God put this auto lot over on the side, perfect. The light shined down on it, and they had this beautiful car there. And my cousin is driving, and he sees the car. And it's like, heart, like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what's up? He goes, I'm going to go see that car. I'm like, look, I'm trying to be the good guy, the rational guy. Look, Uncle Earl said, just come home. Well, not a problem. Because we all feared Uncle Earl. He was like, just come home. I'm like, your father said, come home. My cousin, oh, don't worry about it. It's just going to be, it's a quick thing. He won't know. Did I tell you that the muffler was just hanging off? Well, my cousin takes a right into this little lot, and it goes up, and there's a drop right there. There's a piece of earth that's missing, which means it drops the whole car. So we come in, and boom. And my cousin goes, did you hear that? And I'm like, hear what? He goes, something. I'm like, what do you mean? He backs the car. He backs the car up. And brothers and sisters, you talk about the look of terror on two young black men's face. The muffler that was hanging is now sitting in the middle of this auto lot. And my cousin gets so panicked, he runs out to get this muffler and put it in the car, and he picks it up, and he realizes we've been driving 30 minutes. This is probably the hottest muffler in the city of Danville. To this day, I don't think he has fingerprints. And he drops the muffler because that's how shook he was. And then we finally put the muffler in the car. Now, you have to realize we now have to come up with a constructive lie to tell his father, to tell his dad, who has no filter, who we fear, because we're not fearing him because he's a bad dude. No, we're fearing him because he told us something and we disobeyed the rules. Okay, so we come up with this lie. And I think my cousin wanted me to tell the story because, I might get over because I'm visiting, right? Nobody get a whooping because I would have to get a whooping too. So maybe this works out. So we come up with the best lie that we could in our teenage years. And the lie we said is that, hey, the muffler was hanging on by a hanger. It fell off. Let me tell you, the muffler was hanging by a hanger. It fell off. I'm saying it twice because we had to rehearse it to one another. Your turn. Yeah, the muffler fell off. Oh, Uncle, the muffler fell off. That's what when you're getting ready to tell this lie to Uncle, you better rehearse. So we come back into town. My uncle was on a cab stand, and we're driving, and people without this muffler, you can hear this muffler 2 states away, 2.5. It sounds like that's all you hear, and it is loud and it is banging, and you could see my uncle talking to his friends, having a good time, and he looks up. Why? Because his conversation is being disrupted by this unwelcome noise. Little did you know that this unwelcome noise is coming from the car that he owns. And my uncle was a smoker. He had a cigarette, like this. And let me show you, he had a cigarette like this, all right? He's smoking. And I swear to goodness, when he saw us coming down the hill making all that noise with that car and that muffler, I'm telling you, the cigarette stuck right here. You didn't have to hold it with the other lip. It stuck right here. And we told him the lie that the muffler had fallen off. And I've never sweated profusely like that ever. Like, I mean, it was like a judgment day sweat. You know how you lie and then you lean to see if somebody's like, the muffler fell off. That's kind of the way we did it. But my uncle, I think, he passed away 2003, but I think he went to his grave knowing that we messed that muffler up. So, cousin, you need to pray on that one because we did your dad wrong. But these are the things you do. So let me tell you guys something. One of my favorite stories, if there's a favorite story. My favorite Throwback Thursday was actually, it was a throwback, but it really wasn't Throwback Thursday. It was actually a Throwback Saturday. I was at a fundraiser, and you guys know me and fundraisers. Most of them work out, but the ones that don't work out, you remember. I don't care who you are. You remember it like the first time you touched your hand against a hot stove. You remember. But this one was a little different. This fundraiser was for a group of people who they were really struggling. Let's just say that. So there's nothing funny about struggling. They were really struggling, and they were trying to raise money. You know how it is when there's a certain thing when you're trying to raise money for your budget, and there's a certain thing when you're trying to raise money to buy food. Big difference. So this community, we were trying to raise this money. I donated my services. Another person donated his services. Sheikh Abdul Rauf Kawaja, and it starts out like a comedy thing. I'm like, hey, Sheikh, how you doing? And hey, preach, give each other the greeting. I say, Sheikh, man, you look terrific. I said, you lost weight. What happened? He goes, oh, I had a heart attack. I'm like, okay, that's a conversation ender right there. I'm like, okay. And the Sheikh gets up. The numbers are bad for the fundraiser. Like, there was maybe, I want to say, Imam Qasim Ahmed was there. There might have been 25, 35 people at the fundraiser. I mean, I did my comedy thing. Don't worry about that. Then the fundraising came, people. And it was the worst fundraiser because you're literally looking at the fact that the people who need the most, the people who need the money the most, they're the only ones in the audience. Like, no big donors came. No, no people with a lot of disposable cash came. And so it was interesting because the people who were donating were the people that needed. So it was interesting because you couldn't do crazy numbers. And they were giving what they had, knowing that was going to have to come back to them. Amazing thing. And the organizer was sweating because he had ordered food for like 100 people and he had to pay for it. It was like, only 25 people here. And I was like, we better hope they have multiple personalities. You're going to have to eat that food. All right. It's going horribly. I'm like, man, this is horrible. And people putting stuff, literally money, pennies, everything. And I'm like, man, how will this thing turn around? Sometimes it's not about money that turns it around. This little girl, maybe 2, 3 at the most, at a very young age, she looked around and realized that people were giving for a cause. She probably was too young to know that her family was in need. But I saw this little girl walk up in the middle of this big ass from the Sheikh, who'll give me, and this little girl, bless her heart, walked up and she had a little piece of candy, just a little piece of candy. And she took one last look at the candy and she put it in with the money. And I said, that has made my day. And eventually it was an omen. You know why? Because that situation led to a greater situation, led to a mosque being established, Masjid Al-Tawheed in Fifth Ward, Houston. And I always remember that little girl taking a lick of that little bit of candy, telling it goodbye, and putting it in with the rest of the money. And it was that kind of dedication. People, that's what I remember. That's my Throwback Thursday. It actually happened on a Saturday. But I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Hey, Cuzzo, thanks for coming on, man. I always tell the muffler story, man. Love you, man. But check your check your fingerprints. Listen, you guys take care. My name is Preacher Ma. See you tomorrow. SOS shout out show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.